Chicago, the 7th tallest building in the United States and the 33rd tallest in the world. It is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. 720 million pounds of concrete, lots of glass, lots of steel to get this building opened in 2009. Somebody shouted out, the tallest building in the world is called Burj Khalifa, exactly. Adrian Smith, the lead architect on the Trump International Hotel and Tower, he was the lead architect on the Burj Khalifa. Now guys, if you want to know how tall the Burj Khalifa is without having to go to Dubai, look up at the top of Trump up there. Put another Trump on top of this one, you would have the height of the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. I know, crazy. Now in the 1930s, ladies and gentlemen, a man by the name of Ludwig Mies van der Rohe immigrates to the United States. Look off to the right. He brings with him this style of architecture. It's the international style of architecture. Black box modernism is also what we refer to it as. Today home to the American Medical Association. It used to be a building for IBM computers. Van der Rohe, when it came to architecture and philosophy, Van der Rohe believed less is more. You see it in his building, straightforward lines, large dark windows, large open floor plans on the inside. Now, if you don't have your camera out already, you may want to pull out your camera and get a picture here of the Corn Cob Towers. Instagram said they were the most photographed buildings in the entire city in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Corn Cob Towers, known as the Marina City Towers. It's 19 stories of parking, over 40 stories of condominium living. Guys, would you believe every condo inside the Corn Cob Towers is shaped like a piece of pie? When you walk in the front door, the width of your condo is only 3 feet. The widest part of your condo is the balcony. The design was completed in 1959. The buildings went up in the 60s, but guess what? By the early 1960s, people had already started to move out to the suburbs. So we had to attract them back to the city. We built inside the Corn Cob Towers a city within a city. Look here off to the right. See the House of Blues marquee? That's the old movie theater for the residents living there in the 60s. There was also a grocery store, a bowling alley, oh yeah, an ice skating rink that only closed a few years ago because someone skated right off the edge. No, that's not true. Now, everything else though that I told you is true, ladies and gentlemen. The Corn Cob Towers have been used in over 500 TV shows and movies throughout the years. Isn't it funny how when you're on a boat, everybody waves to one another? This is like what you do. You know, I get in my car, I drive down the Dam Ryan Expressway, I wave to people. The only thing I get back is one finger, telling me I'm number one. I do appreciate that. All right, let's go here off to the right-hand side. See the Whirlpool logo, the Britannica logo at the top. From 1914, this is the Reed Murdoch Center. It used to be a big grocery warehouse. Why the clock tower? Not because it's pretty. It's done in the Chicago school style of architecture. Would you believe in 1914, young people, there were no iPhones and Androids? No. Wristwatches were considered something back then of luxury, so to let the workers know when to come to work and when to go home, they had a clock tower. Pretty much in every factory and warehouse along the river. Now, if you consider yourself an environmentalist, this may be one of your favorite buildings. The one here with the Chicago Cut Steakhouse inside off to the right. This is 300 North LaSalle. It's LEED certified platinum. You may be saying, all right, Josh, that's my name. What's that mean? It's leadership in energy and environmental design. Guys, this building in the hot summer months, they use water from the Chicago River to cool their entire cooling system inside the building. The water gets sucked into the building, the water's filtrated through the AC units inside, the water comes out cleaner and cooler than when it went in. Now it's large and in charge, the granddaddy of all buildings, Merchandise Mart, coming into view. The bridges will rain on you from time to time. They will, they will. Here's Merchandise Mart off to the right-hand side. Guys, this building's so big, the United States Postal Service, up until a few years ago, gave this building its own zip code. 4.2 million square feet. It sits on 2 city blocks. You could run a mini marathon if you ran around the building a couple times inside, because there's 8.5 miles of hallway, 4,000 windows. Great example of Art Deco. Art Deco described as vertical lines that draw your eyes up, geometric ornamentation on a limestone facade. Graham Anderson Probst & White, the architecture firm that built the building for a man named Marshall Field. Marshall Field moves into the building when it opens May 1930, $28 million to build. Marshall Field sells the building to Joseph P. Kennedy 15 years after he moves in for $13 million. Well, if you know anything about the Kennedy family, they're pretty smart when it comes to money. They hold on to that piece of property for a number of decades. Come the mid-1990s, they list the Merchandise Mart on the market. How much do they make? Try $675 million. Today they say the building is valued at just under $1 billion. Now when Chicago gets started in 1837, ladies and gentlemen, look off to the right here. Off to the right, that's where Chicago gets started. This is Wolf Point. Now the building under construction here is going to be completed next year. That's when it's going to open. It's almost done. It's called Salesforce Tower, 60 stories tall. Wolf Point is where the original hotel was, the original trading post, and the original not one, not two, but 3 taverns were located because, well, from the inception of the city, we like to drink. What can we say? Across the river, the building with the large parabolic curve and that red statue out front is River Point. Now notice below the building, you have that cement wall and you have all those exhaust fans. Why? Well, would you believe those exhaust fans are there to release the exhaust of the trains that are, well, going under the building. They're making their way to Chicago's Union Station. They're Metro trains. Now we're headed now down the south branch of the Chicago River, headed to show you the tallest building in our fair city. But I want to show you what I think is the coolest modern building in Sweet Home Chicago. It's here off to the right. It's 150 North Riverside. Look at the building, look how it's shaped. I call it the upside down building because it looks like the bottom should be up top and the top should be down at the bottom. It's 54 stories tall, but guys, the base supporting this building is only 40 feet wide. Now notice these stainless steel beams that go throughout the length of the building. They go deep, deep, deep into the ground. They also have something in this building called a mass damper system to make sure the building doesn't teeter-totter with such a very skinny, narrow base. The mass damper system holds about 160,000 gallons of water. And as strong winds are blowing to one side, the water swashes to the other side and balances everything out. Look back, guys. Look how thin the base of that building is. The Hyatt Hotel Corporation has their headquarters inside 150 North Riverside. It's where our governor, J.B. Pritzker, has made the majority of his millions. His family, of course, owns the chain of hotels that are headquartered in that building. And here off to the left, look at this, and look at the shape of the stainless steel beams. How they're in the shape of the letter V. They mimic, give the kaleidoscope effects of the building that we just saw, the upside down building. That's because the architect is one in the same. James Getch and Partners built Bank of America Tower, this building you're seeing here on the left, as well as 150 North Riverside, the upside down building. Any opera fans on board? Anybody love the opera? Okay. Crickets. Well, if you'd like a night at the opera, you may want to check out this building here up to the left-hand side. This is the Chicago Civic Opera House. It is the second largest opera house in the United States, one behind the Metropolitan Opera House in New York City. French Renaissance is the style of architecture. If you look very closely, you may be able to see one of the theatrical masks that adorn the outside. Chicago Civic Opera House holds about 3,500, used by the Chicago Lyric Opera Company and the Joffrey Ballet. They just wrapped up the Nutcracker on stage. Would you believe the Opera House, up until a few decades ago, they were using water from the Chicago River to move their hydraulics, the curtains and set pieces, on stage. Now, I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the tour, I told you about a German immigrant by the name of Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. He brought the international style of architecture here to the United States. Look off to the right, you'll see 2 more examples of that style of architecture, known as Gateway 1 and Gateway 2. Van der Rohe did not design these buildings. What I failed to mention to you was Van der Rohe educated young people, young aspiring architects, at the Illinois Institute of Technology, and one of his students, Bruce Graham, designed these 2 buildings. There you see the trains running underneath the 2 buildings, going to Chicago's Union Station. These tracks are utilized by Amtrak and Metra, again, trains that service our suburban communities. Go up and to the left, ladies and gentlemen. There it is.